Hi, and welcome back to week 4. We're now on day 4 of making observations from data in scatterplots. This is SOL 8.13b, where we're making observations about data represented in scatterplots. We're making these observations about points that are having positive, negative, or no linear relationships. Going over yesterday's independent practice and homework, the first question asks you to identify the scatter plot that shows the positive relationships amongst the data. That means you're having an upward trend in your data. So if you're looking at the left-hand side, the first one and the third one both have positive correlations because they're going up. The one that's in the middle on the left-hand side sort of has a negative correlation going down. If you're looking at the top right, there's no correlation because the points are scattered about. If you're looking at the second one on the right side, that is a negative correlation, and the one that is at the very bottom does not have a direct correlation because those points are scattered about as well. And looking at question number 2, it says a group of students collected data on a school field trip. Which of the following data will most likely result in the scatter plot having a negative relationship? When you look at these answer choices, the correct one should be number 3, the number of miles driven compared to the gallons of gas left in the gas tank, because we know that when you start to drive, you burn gas out of your vehicle. So the more miles you drive, the less gas you'll have left in your gas tank. Today's objective: I can construct a scatter plot given data on graph paper and analyze the scatter plot to determine whether the data has a positive correlation, negative correlation, or no correlation. Materials needed are paper, preferably graph paper, and a pencil. In reviewing your vocabulary terms, independent variable, dependent variable, the line of best fit, positive relationship, negative relationship, or no relationship. Once again, we share with you the pictorial representations for our linear relationships. To your left, you have the positive relationship, meaning as your data points increase for both your X and your Y, you have an upward trend, which is a positive linear relationship. As your Y coordinate decreases while your X coordinate is increasing, that is a negative relationship because you have a downward slope. For no linear relationship, there is no direct correlation between your X and Y coordinates. Attached to this slide, you will find instructional videos. We ask that you please pause the slide at this point. Take a moment with your paper and pencil to watch each one of the videos and take notes as needed. Once you are done, please come back to the slides, press play so that we can get started on your independent practice. Welcome back. It is time for your independent practice, and here we are with example number 1. Identify the data sets as having a positive, negative, or no correlation. Number 1, the number of hours a person has driven and the number of miles driven. Number 2, the number of siblings a student has and the grade they have in a math class. Number 3, the number of photos saved in your phone and the amount of storage available. Please take a moment to identify which type of correlation each one of these have. When you are done, please press play so that we can go over these examples together. Number 1 was a positive correlation. The longer a person drives, the more miles they travel. As one's variable increases, the other one increases. Number 2, there was no correlation. One person could be an only child and be failing math, and another child could have 4 siblings and have an A in math. Number 3, negative correlation. The more photos you have saved in your phone, the less storage you have remaining. As one variable increases, the other decreases. Example number 2. The table shows the number of students on a basketball team and the number of free throws each student has made. Based on this information, which best describes the relationship between the number of students and the number of free throws per student? Please read the answer choices and draw a scatter plot on a similar grid to help you answer the questions. So using the grid given to you on the right, You can use the data that's in the table to try to draw or plot this data to determine which answer choice is correct. Please do so at this time. When you are done, press play so that we can go over example number 2 together.
The table shows the number of students on a basketball team and the number of free throws each student made during practice. So here we have our number of students and our number of free throws per student. The coordinate grid below can be used to help answer the question. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and graph our scatter plot here. So you'll notice here the number of students is on our x-axis. So that is going to be this variable, and our number of free throws is on our y-axis, so that is going to be that variable. So starting to plot here, if there are 7 students, they had 3 free throws each, so 7 goes up with 3. 2 students had 1 free throw. 6 students with 6 free throws. 4 went with 7. 5 went with 2. 3 went with 4. And 1 went with 3. So once your scatter plot is graphed, then we are able to assess what type of relationship was going on here with our data. So this is based on this information, which best describes the relationship between the number of students and the number of free throws each student made. So remember, we have 3 different types of correlations that we're really looking at here. We have positive, negative, and no correlation, or no relationship. So positive would look like as one thing increases, the other also increases, which would be going up. Negative would look like as one thing increases, the other one decreases, which is going down. And no relationship is just kind of scattered. Things are all over the place. So looking at this scatter plot here that we have, this actually would be no relationship because some things are down here, some are up here. We have higher, lower, they're kind of all over the place. So I would call this a no relationship. There is no correlation. The table.
You are now ready for example number 3. It says, assume that during a 3-hour period spent outside, a person recorded the temperature and their water consumption. The experiment was conducted on 7 randomly select days during the summer. The data is shown in the table below. You are to plot the points from the data onto the graph and determine what the correlation of the scatter plot is on the graph from the temperature and the water consumption. Please take a moment to actually complete this graph. And then when you are ready, come back to the slide and press play so that we can go through example number 3 together.
Assume that during a 3-hour period spent outside, a person recorded the temperature and their water consumption. The experiment was conducted on 7 randomly selected days during the summer. The data is shown in the table. So here is our table. We have the 7 days and the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit and the amount of water in ounces on that day that that person consumed. So going back through and going ahead and plotting our points, you'll see down here we have the amount of water consumed. Those are in ounces, and our temperature. So this time, this is actually our y variable, and this is actually our x variable. So looking at that, for day 1, we had 48 ounces of water, so that's right here, and the temperature was 99 degrees Fahrenheit. So 48, follow that line up, it's going to be just below that 100. Day 2, there was 27 ounces of water consumed, so just before that, 28, and the temperature was 85 degrees, so I'm going to go up to 85, which is right here. It's going to be just before that line. Day 3 was 97 degrees, and they had 48 ounces of water. So 48 again, and all the way up to 97. So that's going to be just below that other point that we had before. Day 4, 75 was the temperature, and they had 16 ounces of water. So 16 ounces went with 75 degrees. So that point's right there. Day 5, 32 ounces of water went for 92 degrees Fahrenheit. So 32 with 92 degrees. So it's going to be right there. Day 6, 25 ounces with 85 degrees. And day 7, 20 ounces with 83 degrees. So that is what your scatter plot should look like. So we've created a scatter plot with the data, and now we want to look at the correlation of the scatter plot. So you don't need the day, just like we said before. We're just plotting the water consumption as my x, the temperature as my y. So as the amount of water consumed increases, the temperature also increases, which makes sense, right? So if it's hotter outside, you're more likely to drink more water because you are hotter and you're sweating a little bit more. So because as one increases, the other one also increases, you see that positive trend here going up. So this would be a positive correlation.
Next, we have our practice and homework questions. If you look here, you will have 2 questions. The first scatter plot shows the number of years attending college and the amount of money earned. Based on the scatter plot, which of the following conclusions can be made about the relationships between the number of years attending and the amount of money earned? And the second question, you're supposed to look at the graph and determine what data is represented in this graph. We ask that you pause the video at this time, take a few moments to answer these practice or homework questions. To note them in your notebook, we will go over them during tomorrow's lesson. Thank you for participating today. We ask that you please log into Dreambox and complete at least one lesson. Remember, Dreambox is located in your Clever account. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to being with you again tomorrow.